Hey folks, today is Friday, February 14th, 2025. As usual, I'm Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the gaming news that has been going on this week. Happy Valentine's Day if you love someone or whatever, but we got a lot of gaming news to talk about. It's been a busy week in the gaming industry world. The first thing is something, it's actually catching up a little bit from last week. It flew under the radar, but I wanted to dive into it because it's a weird rumor or possibly leak the way you look at it. This comes from somebody posting on social media at Daniel Olamak. This is Daniel Camillo. He is an analyst. He's also wrote for gamesindustry.biz, a very legit website, and he suggested on social media that these select games are going to be revealed or announced this year, citing his own sources. A new Tomb Raider, a Fire Emblem remake, a Nier Automata sequel, a big Castlevania game, and EA Football Club 26. That one's obvious, of course. It's an annual series, but this is interesting. Now, look, take this with a grain of salt. It's one person saying this, but it's someone who clearly works in the industry. I don't know why they would come out and leak this stuff, but if it is true, it's interesting. On the one hand, Tomb Raider, pretty predictable. I think we could see that coming. We know that they've been cooking on Tomb Raider something for a while. It's just whether or not it's like another reboot or an old return to form, who knows? The Fire Emblem remake is interesting. I think people can make a guess of which Fire Emblem games are the ones most likely to be remade. A Nier Automata sequel, it's kind of funny when you say it out loud, just because of how Nier Automata went down. But a new Nier game is actually something I didn't expect. That actually took me for a loop. That being said, again, these are all just like rumors or possible leaks. We don't know for sure, but that's something that I would like to see. And then the other one, Castlevania, a AAA Castlevania game, is something I did expect. I feel like we've all heard rumblings about that at this point, and with Konami kind of gearing back up to get into the AAA market, and with Castlevania being such a big brand for them, it's really only a matter of time before they decide to make some money from it, put something out, really capitalize on that IP. So yeah, I think these are likely things, whether they're actual true leaks from inside sources or just really smart guesses. Either way, I expect to see some of this, but I definitely want to know what you guys think. What do you expect from a new Tomb Raider game in 2025? What do you want from a Castlevania game? And also, Nier. What could a new Nier game be like? There's definitely some avenues to explore there, but I want to know how you guys are feeling on this. Another big bit of news, this one's kind of a bummer, it's that Crysis 4 is on hold. Crysis 4 was announced quite a few years ago, very, very early in the stages. It seems like Crytek was really just staffing up to build the project. Sometimes that's why games are announced so early. But here, this is a disappointment. Apparently, Crysis 4 is on hold because the studio, Crytek, has been hit by layoffs. According to Eurogamer, they're losing about an estimated 15% of its 400 employees. That's around 60 people. In this statement, they had announced that they had actually put the Crysis game on hold in Q3 2024 to shift their focus on the Hunt Showdown 1896 update, which, credit where credit's due, it's actually very good. One of my close friends has been playing it nonstop. It really seems like it's been like a consistent, well-supported, fun thing if you're into that type of game, but it's unfortunate that that had to be to the detriment of the progress of the next Crysis game, because I think there was potential for Crysis to try something new, do something new. They always tried to push technology forward, usually graphical stuff, and I thought that Crysis 4 could have been a fun, interesting inflection point. I think at this point, the bigger problem is when they do maybe, hopefully, turn things around and get back working on Crysis 4 is how to get people excited about Crysis 4. It's been a long time since Crysis 3, and at this point, it does feel a little bit more of like a forgotten franchise, at least to the mainstream audiences. Like, I don't expect a Crysis nano suit to like show up in Fortnite or anything like that, but again, unfortunate to see that this is happening. Hopefully, we do see Crysis at some point in the future, but for now, it's on ice. In some interesting business type news, we have been talking a lot about how console sales are slowing down, whether it's games not exciting enough for people to run out and buy these consoles, or, these consoles really just reaching their peak with finding people. Well, Take-Two's Strauss Zelnick, in an interview with IGN, had some interesting quotes about Grand Theft Auto 6 possibly contributing to the increase in sales of PlayStation 5 and Xboxes. He said, and I quote, "When you have a big title in the market, and we have many of them coming, historically, that has sold consoles. And I think that will happen this year. I don't think tariffs are going to be our friend, but I think there will be a meaningful uptick in console sales in calendar 25 because of the release schedule." He does also, I guess he's being not just about Grand Theft Auto 6, he does say not just coming from us, but coming from others. So that's interesting, but more interesting, he did say, "I think the trend that you'd want to focus on is this increasing share of the market that is reflected in PC." He went on talking about how, yes, they historically release Grand Theft Auto on consoles and then later on PC. And, he's still kind of playing coy with how they do that. Rockstar is going to do it how they're going to do it. But he does double down on saying, "We have seen PC become a much, much more important part of what used to be a console business. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that trend continue." So it's just interesting to hear the big higher ups, the big corporate bigwigs also having their eyes on the PC market, which does still at this point feel like it's really been flourishing the last couple of years. Will that mean we'll see GTA 6 on PC sooner? Usually the gap is pretty big. I don't know for sure. I can't predict the future, but I just wanted to provide you guys with that. If you want to read the whole interview, everything I talk about, all the sources and stuff are going to be linked in the description. Hey, next up, this video is sponsored by Saily. Saily is a new eSIM service brought to you by Nord Security. The people behind NordVPN, who we talk about all the time. Well, this is interesting. Saily offers affordable eSIM plans and a handy-dandy app from a variety of different regions and countries. Look, if you've ever been abroad or you needed an internet connection really badly with no Wi-Fi hotspot in sight, you know the difference a local SIM card can make. And with eSIMs, it's easier than ever. And Saily helps you essentially unlock this. With one download, an eSIM provides an internet connection wherever you travel and just saves you money on roaming fees. Because when you're traveling, those fees can add up, trust me. I've had a very high bill I've had to deal with before. Before you go on a trip or you're gonna need it, make sure you have the Saily app. You can very easily browse plans. Let's go with a 5 gigabyte plan here. And our coupon code right here, you put it in, gameranx, for an exclusive 15% off discount. Then you activate the eSIM, it takes a second, and you're good to go. That's really it. You can get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily eSIM data plans today. You can get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily eSIM data plans today. All you gotta do is head to saily.com/gameranx. Download the Saily app, get started, and then at checkout, use code GameRanx for that 15% off. Again, that's saily.com/GameRanx and use code GameRanx for 15% off. And big thanks to Saily for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Next up, some cool little snippets from some independent media, which I think is cool. Not just big scoops by IGN or Variety or whatever, but independent media. Kind of Funny got the scoop on Ted Price from Insomniac, where he said that at one point they pitched a new Resistance game, Resistance 4, to Sony, but unfortunately it was turned down. Along with that, if you're looking for another one in the PlayStation world, the guys over at MinMax were able to interview people from Ready at Dawn, the studio behind a lot of things, but one of my personal favorites, I've been shilling for this game for years, the Order 1886. Apparently, they had a full pitch for a bigger, badder sequel, but Sony turned it down due to the critical reception and stuff like that, which is not surprising. Obviously, that game did not really bode well for them, but still, to know that it could have existed and the fact that they wanted to really make things right and really prove that franchise, I would have liked to see it. But yeah, Resistance 4 and Order 1887 are things that are just dust in the wind now. Now, next up, speaking of Sony, which we were talking about, there was a State of Play this week. In case you missed it, we did do a whole video breaking down all the news, but if you don't have time for that whole video, just some of the small snippets, some stuff that I really liked. It was a State of Play really not focused around these big, massive, heavy hitter first-party studio stuff, much to the disappointment of some people. It was, more third-party games, but I thought there was stuff that was still interesting, including Borderlands 4 having some gameplay and getting a release date, September 23rd, 2025, which is interesting because, of course, their parent company is also the parent company behind Grand Theft Auto 6, so maybe that gives us a little bit more of an inkling of where Grand Theft Auto 6 might land in the fall, if that actually happens. Also, Lies of P Overture. This is the first post-launch big DLC for Lies of P. This is coming summer 2025. and it looks awesome. I loved Lies of P, so this is cool. We also got to look at Mind's Eye. This is a 2025 game by Build a Rocket Boy and Leslie Benzies, one of the people at Rockstar North behind the Grand Theft Auto games. Many years ago, of course, he left in a big departure to make his own thing. It was called Everywhere. That's still a thing. You know, it's kind of like a platform, but this right here looks like just a regular old traditional third-person cinematic action game, which is a type of game I really like. Give me a third-person game where you're running around as a cool guy, shooting stuff and blowing stuff up and driving cars, and I'm in. I'm easy. So hopefully this actually turns out to be cool. There's a lot, like I said, I couldn't fit in here, but one of the things that made a big splash is Tales of Annihilation. This is like a big, weird action-adventure combat game that at first kind of looks like Stellar Blade, where you're like a hot girl in a destroyed land. But this looks way more over the top and has a lot of variety and more Devil May Cry style combat. I'm really into this. They also, after the State of Play, released 11 minutes of straight up gameplay, which is very nice to see. So I linked that in the description down below. And out of the other big stuff, Saros. This is a first party PlayStation game. This was kind of like their grand finale. This is from Housemarque, the people behind Returnal. This is their next big game. It's called Saros. It's starring actor Rahul Kohli. They said specifically it's a single player IP building off of Returnal. Like they really liked what they did with Returnal and they're doing more of that. But also from this trailer, judging, it looks like they're also doubling down on storytelling, which is cool. Don't know too much more about it other than that it's probably going to be a big PlayStation exclusive, and we're going to hear more because apparently some gameplay stuff is coming later this year. Next up, some things you should check out. Civ 7 technically released this week, so we did the before you buy for that. I co-wrote that with our buddy Eric behind the scenes here, and it's not the ideal Civ game. It does some interesting things. It tries to shake up the formula, but you really got to be in the mood for this new type of essentially gameplay variant that is the game. It's way too complicated to explain here, but yeah, Civ 7, interesting. I would say definitely watch our video and read a couple of other reviews to see if it's right for you. And I think the same goes for Avowed, which I dumped a ton of time into over the last week. This is Obsidian's next big thing. It's their first big thing with Xbox, and unfortunately, I found it kind of disappointing. I think the combat and the world was really, really cool. But with RPGs like this, for me, it comes down to like the characters and the story, and it didn't really grip me there. So it's not an all-out disaster or anything like that. People think I'm like wishy-washy about it, and to be honest, I am. I don't really recommend it to everybody, but really, it's too complicated to just distill into one sentence. I can't just say, game sucks, game good. So if you want to check that out, that's linked down below. Also releasing this week, I'm very excited about this. It's dropping today on Valentine's Day. Tomb Raider 4 through 6 remastered. This has one of my goats, Angel of Darkness, in it. So I'm excited to replay that in all its remastered glory. The Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered, they did a really good job on. So yeah, just wanted to put that on your radar. If you're looking for Elden Ring Nightrein details, I also linked that in the description down below. There's been a lot of previews with press and stuff like that. People have been getting into those timed technical tests. Apparently, Dark Souls bosses show up. A lot of interesting stuff is coming out around that. And of course, I'm not like the Elden Ring diehard guy, so I'm not the person to distill that news to you, so I'll leave it to the pros. But also, last but not least, there might be a new Back to the Future game coming. Yeah, this kind of flew by in the headlines because the bigger headline was really an interview with Bob Gale, one of the creators of Back to the Future, the guy that wrote it. He went on record saying, once again, when people ask him to do a new Back to the Future movie, he tells them to go themselves. That was really the big headline, but what people missed there is that he mentioned that there is a new game in the works. When he was asked about like what's actually next for the Back to the Future franchise, he said, "We've got a shot at a new video game based on Back to the Future. I don't want to tell you any more than that because I'm not allowed to, but this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. Knock on wood that will happen." Of course, 2025 is the 40th anniversary of the original movie. So that's cool. I wonder what that could mean. Could it be a full-fledged ass Back to the Future game? We got a Telltale one back in the day that had some interesting ideas. Or is this just going to be some mobile game NFT bullshit? There's a lot of that around the Back to the Future world, but more specifically the DeLorean car world. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into like the DeLorean car lore. I'm a big fan of the car itself more than the movie. But anyway, I digress. I got my DeLorean mention in. That's a Friday show. So let me know what you think about the stories we talked about. The State of Play, of course, if you got a grade for the presentation, let me know. I know a lot of people were waiting for like Ghosts of Yotei or, Wolverine details, but yeah, let me know what you thought about what was shown. Do you want to play any of those games? Also, do you think GTA 6 really will be the monumental mover that is now at this point really been hyped up to be, with Take-Two saying that it's probably going to help sell consoles? Let me know what you think about the fact that there was possibly, maybe, almost a Resistance 4 and a new Order 1886. Let's talk about all this stuff down in the comments, and most importantly, in the pinned comment down there, let us know specifically what games you're currently playing for our research purposes. It helps when we know. But thank you for being here. Clicking the like button helps us out. We really appreciate it. We're here every week just to get you caught up quickly on the news. Every Friday, we don't miss. But I'm Jake Baldino. You can catch me here. You can catch me on the Before You Buys. But all I ask is have a great weekend. Be safe. Pizza's on me. See ya.